Oklahoma football fans, college football fans, welcome in. I've got a very special guest, Zach Nagy, here with me again. This time, not covering the other team he covers for, but the one that's more of your primary team, LSU Tigers. Big matchup between Oklahoma and LSU this weekend, and probably a bigger matchup, obviously, for Oklahoma as they're trying to look to close out this season and end up with a 10-2 record, cementing their way into the college football playoffs, and a possibility in hosting a home game. Zach, how's LSU feeling about coming into this matchup? What's kind of their main goal for this matchup against the Sooners coming to Norman?
Yeah, I think really there's only one way to look at it if you're on the LSU side of things, and it's to try to spoil Oklahoma's college football playoff chances. And it's going to be tough. I mean, this is one of the best defenses in America. They understand that. Interim coach Frank Wilson has detailed that on numerous occasions. I mean, it's a tough task coming in here and marching over to Norman and trying to get a win in the stadium. So it's going to be tough. But the goal here is to try to play spoiler. Oklahoma has a lot to play for. LSU clearly does not. And I think the only way that you can look at it is trying to spoil this college football playoff opportunity for them.
All right, so I want to take a quick break before we get to maybe necessarily the game itself between these two, and just kind of ask you about LSU. They've got obviously a coaching hiring, the position that has been open for a few weeks now, but a lot of rumors with Lane Kiffin, a lot of rumors elsewhere too. Outside of Lane Kiffin, who are some other guys that have been kind of thrown in here for this LSU job? Because it does affect not just LSU, but really the rest of the conference.
Yeah, I think it's going to affect a lot of America with this next decision. If LSU can hit this on the head and really nail this hire, it'll put them in a really good position for the future. And Lane Kiffin is obviously that primary target, like you alluded to. I mean, there's no question about it. This is the one that they're going all in for. They're putting together a really strong financial offer for him, a really strong NIL pool for him. They want Lane Kiffin. That's the number one primary target. There is no question about it. And other than Lane Kiffin, it's pretty small. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz was a guy that they were really targeting, but it looks like he's going to extend with Missouri in the coming days. So Eli Drinkwitz appears to be off the board. Tulane's John Summerall is a name that's also been mentioned in the search. Auburn wants him. Florida wants him. And if the Ole Miss position ultimately comes open, he could land there as well, too. So it's really a Lane Kiffin or bust situation, man. If you talk to a lot of people kind of involved with this coaching search, I think they would double down on that as well. So they want Lane. Eli Drinkwitz is a secondary guy. Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State is one that they like as well. But I'll tell you what, it's who they want. Lane Kiffin is who they want, and they're going to try to do everything they can to get over the finish line. He's an unpredictable guy. His agent, Jimmy Sexton, is the best in the business. He's going to continue to work all the phone lines until the buzzer this weekend. But LSU is going to continue to punch and try to counter on every single opportunity they can.
Even if LSU doesn't land Lane Kiffin, does it give LSU fans a little bit of peace of mind knowing that at least they disrupted Ole Miss during all this process?
Disrupt is a very good way to look at it. I feel as though Lane Kiffin is, in a way, humiliating Ole Miss. It's a very difficult spot that
Yeah.
they're in right now, for sure. But yes, absolutely, man. If LSU doesn't land Lane Kiffin, you can sit back and say they swung for the fences. They put together every offer that they could, and ultimately rattled Ole Miss a little bit in the process of it.
Yeah, and I think this whole coaching carousel right now it has revolved mainly around LSU because you have the Penn State job open, the Arkansas job open, you've got Florida open, but there's really nothing quite like the brand that LSU brings, and I think that's really caused a lot of ruckus elsewhere. Just looking at the coaching carousel. That seems to be the biggest brand on the board, and so a lot of other teams are having to kind of compete with that. And of course, with a guy like Lane Kiffin, it's really hard to compete when you've got not just the big brand, but also the big name of Lane Kiffin as well. Um,
Exactly.
so, kind of going into LSU's season, you and I just mentioned, man, it's a little bit different than what we would have predicted early on in the season, or especially preseason. This LSU team just seems like they felt like they had something going for them early in the season, and it felt like this could be a special team. Garrett Nussmeier doesn't have the season that a lot of people, myself included, predicted that he would have. The defense looks better, but it's a complete opposite of what we've seen maybe in years past, where now the offense just can't get anything going for itself. and it has been, I mean, quite atrocious for most part of the season. And now you get to the point where you get rid of Brian Kelly. At that moment when Brian Kelly leaves, and then it seems like still news kind of popping up, of course, with lawsuits and all that, does that kind of put a little bit of a distraction on the program itself when Brian Kelly's still involved with all this news kind of going on around the program?
I would certainly say that from an outside look of us looking at the program as a whole, absolutely there are distractions involved. Within the locker room, it's about trying to finish strong. And I know that's pretty cliche, right? I think everybody would try to say that. It's a pretty casual perspective. But when you talk to the players, we had the chance to talk to a couple of them last night, Whit Weeks included. It's just about finishing strong and trying to end this season strong. The outside kind of narratives and all these other things, whether it's Brian Kelly, the lawsuits, the coaching search, a new athletics director. I mean, it's been a pretty chaotic stretch in Baton Rouge, to say the least. The opportunity here is to try to win, end the season on a positive note. The bowl game that you play in, sure, that's just for the upperclassmen to get one last ride in the purple and gold. But you want to come out here and end the season on a high note, spoil the Sooners' chances to make a college football playoff. It's far fetched. This is one for me going into the season. I predicted that Oklahoma would go in and win this one. And you and I talked before saying, yes, I mean, we thought the stakes would be way higher for both teams. I thought that going into this one, it would be a college football playoff or bust game for both of them.
Yeah.
Whoever won would ultimately punch their ticket. And here we are. It's the Sooners' chance, man. Like, this is their time to shine. But yeah, man, those outside perspectives certainly would take a toll on the locker room. They have over the last couple of weeks. But now you have interim head coach Frank Wilson at the helm, a guy who is a player's coach, and these guys want to play for him. They want to win for him. And now you go on the road to Norman for the first time and have a chance to try to do something special. So it's just about rallying your troops and trying to get over there and make it happen.
Yeah, and it's in Norman. It will be senior night for quite a few really good seniors, especially over on the defensive side of the ball. So it would be a spoiler for many reasons too, not just spoiling the chances for Oklahoma to make it to the college football playoffs and really making something of this season for Oklahoma, and then it spoils the home, the home environment, and then you also spoil senior night. There's a lot to spoil for LSU for sure, and so you can definitely hang your hat on something there, regardless of the season didn't turn out like we wanted, but we got a big win here to close it out. Kind of jumping into this matchup and thinking about this matchup between LSU, Oklahoma. I know there's not a whole lot over on the LSU's offensive side of the things, offensive side of the ball that has LSU fans really feeling confident that much can be done there. But what are some of the bright spots specifically right now that you feel like LSU could lean into, or maybe slight adjustments could turn that into something to match up against Oklahoma's defense?
I think Oklahoma's run defense is really stout. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you look at Oklahoma on paper, they're dominant on that side of the ball. So for LSU on the offensive side, it's a pretty unique spot to be put in. You haven't been able to air the ball out. Your wide receivers have not shined, mainly because they haven't been able to get the ball, because they haven't had time to let plays develop. Your offensive line has been abysmal in 2025. So for me, when I look at a bright spot or something that could really try to kind of give this program a boost, it's true freshman running back Harlem Berry. And again, this is a guy who was the number one running back in America coming out of high school, a speedster, dynamic. Look, he won't have the opportunity to have holes to run through. He's going to have to make the most of his opportunities, bounce off of guys, and create something out of nothing. So for me, it's Harlem Berry. Try to get him the ball, maybe pass a swing pass out the backfield, let him turn it upfield and try to do something and make defenders miss. But he's been just about the only bright spot that you could work with right now over these last couple of weeks. Another guy is Trades Green, a 6'7" tight end who's a mismatch nightmare. And it's going to be fascinating to watch Oklahoma really try to lock him down and kind of keep him contained, because I think this week they're really going to try to target him and get him involved in the game plan. But offensively, man, when you're talking about your bright spots, it's Harlem Berry and Trades Green. And nonetheless, it's still going to be challenging for them to make something happen against a really, really talented Oklahoma team.
How do you see the offensive line holding up, specifically against Oklahoma's? I think you could really look at the entire defensive line, whether it's the interior, which is just seems extremely deep, and then even the outside guys. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything new pop up, but I would assume R. Mason Thomas tries to get out there, especially being senior night and everything, and last home game of the season. And of course, you got Samuel Masigo, who stepped in tremendously for him, and Owen Heineke, uh, Taylor Wine. You got a lot of guys that really step up on that defensive front for Oklahoma. How do you see the offensive line being able to fare against that pass rush, or even in the run game, trying to get something going there for LSU's offense?
Not well. Not well, man. It's been
I
a
have to be
very
honest.
it's been a tough season up front, man. The trenches have been statistically and analytically one of the worst offensive lines in LSU history.
Yeah.
There's no way to really get around it. And I'm not here to be pessimistic about LSU. I just I understand the task that's at hand going into this weekend. And when you look at a defensive front that Oklahoma has, they're strong, man. They're strong. And LSU's O line has been the weak link all year on offense. It's obviously kind of games are won and lost in the trenches. Again, another cliche, and it remains true this year. LSU is 7-4 for a reason. So you have an opportunity to try to make the most out of something, but it's going to be tough. I don't see them faring well against this Oklahoma front. I think they'll get in the backfield a ton. I think they'll contain the yards per carry in this one. I'd expect probably less than 3 yards a carry. They'd be lucky to get to 4. But I see it being a really tough task for this offensive line just because they've struggled against, non-power 4 teams. Nonetheless, you go to Oklahoma against one of the best defenses in America. It sets the stage for a really tough task.
All right, jumping over to the defensive side of the ball, which luckily for LSU, that's kind of the battle, defense on defense. And so you look at Oklahoma's offense throughout this season, really haven't done anything spectacular. They have playmakers, and I think every team looks at Oklahoma and says they've got guys that can make plays. They just really aren't piecing that together to make the plays. And LSU's defense has definitely been the bright spot for their team, really the entirety of the season. What's the matchup you see there with Oklahoma's offense against LSU's defense?
Yeah, again, a pretty basic take here, but the second level of defense containing John Mateer. This is a guy who can extend plays, make the most with his legs. He can put the ball in really anywhere. He can throw the ball extremely well at times. He's still getting back in a groove, I feel like, off that thumb injury. And again, that could be an outsider's perspective. That's not necessarily correct. But for me, I think he's slowly getting back in a groove there. He can run the heck out of the ball. So for me, I just really want to see the second level of defense, whether it's Whit Weeks getting back in, kind of coming back from the ankle injury, or Harold Perkins containing him. Again, I want to see the second level of defense really hold things down. The trenches will be tough. I'm not quite necessarily impressed so far with LSU's front, but I think that second level of defense is where you can make kind of some game-changing plays. Watching Harold Perkins try to contain John Mateer will be fascinating this weekend.
Yeah, and to your point too, I think from the outsider's perspective, I think that's true too. It does seem like it's probably the thumb. The insider's perspective, I guess, within the fan base is that there's a lot of speculation that maybe the thumb was all just a psyop and trying to distract everybody from what the real issue may be. But no, it does definitely seem like it stems back from whatever happened there. It stems back to when that point happened and John Mateer came back against Texas. It hasn't been the same John Mateer. You've seen glimpses of it, and he has definitely shown you glimpses of I think against Tennessee and Alabama. Those were two that he really showed. Even in parts of the Ole Miss game, you saw glimpses of John Mateer's finally starting to get back into things. South Carolina, another game, but obviously not very easy to use that one as an example. But ultimately, yeah, it is going to take down. You break down John Mateer and you keep him from being able to do what he does best with his legs, and I think that definitely helps any team out. All right, kind of getting down to it. I think really just getting down to score prediction. I know. See, I think both times that I've had you on now, you've been pretty just realistic, just understanding the situation at hand. This time against LSU, in a game that really feels like all the odds are stacked against them. It really doesn't feel like there's a whole lot to fight for LSU other than just pride and closing your season out well. What's the score prediction here? How do you see this one ending for Oklahoma LSU?
I'll tell you what, I was wrong last time. I said that Ole Miss would lose, and they pulled it off and handled business there. I was wrong last time. Hoping this time I'm right. But for me, man, I think that 8-4 looks a lot better than 7-5 on paper for LSU. Do I think that they can get to 8-4? I don't. I truly think that this Oklahoma defense is going to give LSU some problems. The offense, man, last week against Western Kentucky was arguably the worst offensive performance that we've seen from this team in a while. I mean, this year, absolutely. But when you look at the bigger picture over the last couple of years, definitely one of, if not the worst offensive performances. Now you go on the road to Norman. The weather conditions might be a little bit finicky, might not be in your favor. For me, I don't see LSU really faring well in this one. I'm looking more towards a 27-10 win in Oklahoma's favor, and I think LSU would be really lucky to get to 10. They put up 13 against Western Kentucky last week, and they had to fight and scratch to get those 13 points. You have Michael Van Buren at quarterback right now, replacing Garrett Nussmeier. The current expectation is that Nussmeier will not be good to go, continuing to battle that abdominal injury that he's been dealing with this season. Michael Van Buren will be your quarterback. We'll see how they move from here, but I'm hovering around 27-10 right now. In reality, I would like to say 27-6, but I'll be generous today and say 27-10 in favor of Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I guess I haven't really looked down in the stats. What's LSU's run defense look like?
Not that great. Not that great. And for me, the defense as a whole has been great. There's been opportunities as a whole to be good, but you can expose them in the run game if you truly want to. Their interior defensive line has not been what a lot of people thought that it would be in 2025. If you want to try to expose them, I think trying to do that would be the case.
Yeah, well, and the reason why I asked too, I didn't even think about it earlier, but it is going to be some nasty weather possibly.
Yeah.
So the run game may be what you have to lean on, and that's definitely something that when Oklahoma needs to lean on it, and they do that, I think they have a good chance. But it just seems again, it's just been really confusing year for Oklahoma, where if you feel like there's strengths on offense that they just completely ignore at times, and I'm sure LSU's probably felt very similar, especially with that offensive performance.
Yeah.
But Zach, I appreciate you very much for jumping on with me. Let my listeners know where they can find your great work.
Absolutely, man. For me, my personal page is at znagi20 on Twitter or X, whichever one you'd like to call it. The LSU page is at LSU Tigers SI. I say it on most of the appearances that I make, man. If you're not on social media, go on ahead and go to your nearest search engine at LSU Tigers SI, LSU Sports Illustrated, whichever one you'd like to punch into your search engine. It'll be on there. And a ton of LSU content, man. Coaching carousel is heating up. Transfer portal is about to open. I got a lot of stuff cooking over there, so make sure to check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it, Zach.